You spend years building expertise only to feel the ground shifting under your feet. You sense the chaos has a structure, but you haven't been able to name it yet. The pyramids of ancient Egypt were built using the same method for roughly 1,000 years. Your smartphone is outdated in 5. Somewhere between those two numbers, the world quietly flipped, and almost nobody was told when it happened. That's what I want to show you today, because once you see this particular moment, what looked like chaos starts to look like something with its own internal logic. There have always been two kinds of time running at once for human civilization. The first is biological time, the pace at which generations replace each other, roughly constant, around 20 to 25 years from one generation to the next. It's measured across 7,500 years of written history. The second is social time, the speed at which knowledge, technology, and meaning update, a variable, and it has been accelerating. For most of recorded history, biological time was faster. Technologies outlived the people who used them. Then, those two frequencies crossed. Social time overtook biological time. And when that happened, something in the architecture of the world gave way. Let's put some numbers to this. A young Egyptian learning stone cutting at 15 would teach the same craft at 60. His grandson would learn the same technique. A Roman blacksmith, a medieval farmer, a Chinese scholar. You learned once, you use that knowledge for life. This was not a coincidence of culture. The construction methods for pyramids stayed essentially unchanged for roughly 1,000 years. Dozens of generations passed in that window. A son handed the same knowledge to his grandchildren and is still applied. Now, take construction, transportation, or information technologies today. Over a single generation, roughly 25 years, the core technologies in each of those fields have shifted 4 or 5 times. And it's happened within one human lifetime. And you can feel it. You graduate with a degree. By the time you pay off the loans, the field has changed. The knowledge you spent years acquiring is already outdated. The career paths you mapped out no longer exist. This is not bad luck. This is what happens when social time moves faster than biological time. There is a concept in physics called resonance. It's the point where the frequency of external vibrations matches the natural frequency of a given system. Hold it there long enough, and the system begins to come apart. Put a mechanical part on a test stand, judge the external frequency up to its natural rate, and you can watch the part fail in real time. There is also something called Flutter. That's when a system passes through its resonant frequency quickly, doesn't linger, and survives. But while it's passing through, it shakes. The crossing of the biological and social frequencies happened roughly in the first half of the 20th century. Just look at what accumulated in that window. World War I, 1914. Revolutions across Germany, Russia, Mexico, China, India, nearly simultaneously. The Great Depression started in 1929. World War II, 1939. Atomic weapons built and used by 1945. By mid-century, it had been resolved, roughly 1950. One more number. At the turn of the 19th to the 20th century, the Earth's population was approximately 1 billion people. It's now 8 billion, 8 times over in 1 century. And this is not a coincidence. This is what Flutter looks like from the outside. Humanity passed through the resonant point and came out the other side. But passing through changed the conditions permanently. Why? This crossing produced something specific. There is a precise phrase for it: the shift in the logic of social behavior. Before the crossing, information could be held. Knowledge moved slowly enough that one group could maintain meanings the broader population didn't have, and that gap could survive for generations. A lie could grow old and die before it was exposed. After the crossing, this no longer holds. The speed of information renewal now moves faster than deception can settle and produce results. Imitation is exposed before it consolidates. Power built on monopoly of knowledge loses its foundation, and it reaches into individual life. Most people today are working with fragments. They have politics in one box, business in another, science in another, and none of those boxes connect. You accumulate more and more information and somehow feel less and less oriented. The people who find their footing do something different. They stop accumulating facts and start building a framework. Not a framework for one field, a framework that holds across all domains at once. The Mosaic worldview is built on three highly generalized categories: matter, information, and measure. The point of these three is that they cover all of reality. Every phenomenon, every event, every system has a material aspect, an information aspect, and a structural measure to it. Which means, when your framework rests on those three, nothing fragments. Politics, biology, economics, business, personal life, they stop being separate boxes. They become aspects of one coherent process you can actually navigate. I have a full video on matter, information, and measure, and what those three actually mean. Link is right here. Now, having the right framework is one thing, maintaining it's another. Because the world keeps updating, the framework has to keep updating with it. This is where methodology matters. Not what you know, but how you learn. The question shifts from how much information can I hold to how do I process new information against what I already understand. This capacity has a name: Conceptual Self-Discipline. Not stubbornly holding onto old frameworks when the evidence shifts, and not chaotically abandoning old structure just because the ground is moving. The skill is to keep what holds and integrate what is new, continuously, at the pace the environment actually requires. And this is a skill. It can be learned, and it is what separates the person who drowns in acceleration from the person who reads it. Back to the crossing of the biological and social times. The ancient Egyptians had a word for this moment. They called it the Apocalypse. And by that, they didn't mean the end of the world. They meant an unveiling, a moment where hidden structures become visible. That is where we are. If you've had the feeling lately that the world has become chaotic, that events don't track the way they used to, that is not a personal failure. It's a symptom of the fact that all instruments of governance built for a time when knowledge moved slowly and secrecy held are now failing. Not your instruments, theirs. What reads as chaos is what Flutter feels like from the inside. And there is a real difference between their world is broken and the instruments built for slower world are breaking. Those two starting points lead somewhere quite different. So here's the thing. If the logic of social behavior already shifted once, what does the new logic actually require of a person? The Mosaic and Kaleidoscope video gets into that. Link is right here.